Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever walked into a room and introduced yourself with your job title, only to feel like no one really heard you, like your words just evaporated into thin air? In a world driven by labels, titles, and job descriptions, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that what's written on a business card defines our worth. We introduce ourselves by what we do. I'm a lawyer, I'm a CEO, I'm an artist. And while that may explain how we make a living, it rarely tells anyone who we really are, or what we're truly capable of. Titles are everywhere, but action, that's what sets people apart. When someone walks into a room and says, "I'm in charge," most people listen out of habit. But when someone walks into a room, carries themselves with quiet strength, listens before speaking, and solves problems without making noise, they don't need to say they're in charge, everyone can feel it. That's what it means to let your actions speak louder than your title. When you show people who you are through your behavior, your choices, your values, and your energy, they won't need to ask what you do. They'll already know they're in the presence of someone who matters. It's tempting to want recognition. We all want to be acknowledged for our hard work, our achievements, and our position. But real influence doesn't come from telling people how powerful you are. It comes from making them feel that power without uttering a single word. Think about the people who have made the greatest impact on your life. Did they throw their resume in your face, or did they guide, support, and lead you in a way that left a lasting impression? Odds are, they didn't need to explain their worth. They lived it. There's something magnetic about individuals who don't need to introduce themselves with status. When you meet someone who listens with intent, who speaks with clarity, who helps without asking for credit, something shifts. You trust them, you respect them, you feel drawn to them. Why? Because they've shown you their character through action, not through self-promotion. That kind of quiet leadership leaves a far deeper imprint than a flashy title ever could. We've all met someone who constantly reminds others of their accomplishments. They say, "I did this, I run that, I've been here." And while there's nothing wrong with being proud of your work, if that's the only thing people hear from you, they start to tune it out. You don't build trust by talking about what you've done. You build trust by showing up again and again, by doing what you say you'll do, by holding yourself to a higher standard even when no one's watching. Letting your actions speak louder means doing the hard thing even when there's no spotlight. It means being consistent, dependable, and real. It means choosing integrity over ego. It means taking the path that doesn't require applause because you're not doing it for attention. You're doing it because it's who you are, and eventually people notice. Maybe not right away and maybe not loudly, but they notice. And when they do, their respect will run deeper than anything a title could command. In every industry, in every corner of life, people remember those who made them feel something real. They remember the manager who believed in them, not just the one who held the corner office. They remember the mentor who led by example, not the one who only gave advice. They remember the friend who showed up without being asked, not the one who posted about it later. These are the moments where action speaks louder than position, where real character reveals itself quietly, and where true influence is earned, not announced. The beautiful thing is, anyone can live this way. You don't need a certain job, income, or background. You don't need permission. You just need to start showing up in a way that aligns with who you truly are. Let people feel your presence in the way you treat others, the way you handle pressure, the way you take responsibility, the way you lead without controlling, the way you support without seeking praise. Because when it's all said and done, people won't remember your title. They'll remember your impact, and impact doesn't come from saying, "This is what I do." It comes from living in a way that makes others feel, "This is who you are." That's the difference. That's the power. That's what lasts. Mystery builds respect, written in a professional, emotionally engaging tone, without using subheadings or a conclusion. In a world that constantly pressures us to share, post, explain, and promote ourselves, there is something deeply powerful about holding a little back. Mystery builds respect. Not because you're hiding something, but because you're choosing not to give everything away all at once. When people don't know everything about you, they start to lean in. They listen more closely. They watch more carefully, and in that space of curiosity, a new kind of respect begins to form. not for what you say, but for what you don't say. It's natural to want to be seen, to be understood, to be acknowledged. But when you give too much too soon, when every achievement, every move, every detail is laid out before someone even has the chance to ask, it loses its weight. It becomes noise. The truth is, people respect what they have to earn. When you hold your story with intention, when you allow people to discover who you are through observation, interaction, and time, you're not being distant. You're being deliberate. You're letting them experience you instead of just being told about you. Think about the people who walk into a room and say very little, but their presence alone makes you notice. They don't dominate the space, but somehow they own it. There's something about their stillness, their confidence, their quiet strength. They don't overshare, they don't brag, and yet, you're drawn to them. Why? Because mystery creates intrigue, it creates value, it makes people pause and ask, who is that? Instead of just walking past and thinking, oh, another loud voice in the room. There's a difference between being silent and being mysterious. Silence can be empty, but mystery is full of purpose. It's choosing to reveal only what is necessary in the moment. It's about having depth that isn't immediately visible on the surface. When people don't know your next move, they don't know how to define you, and when they can't define you, they can't confine you. That's where your power grows. That's where respect begins. Mystery doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being wise with your presence. You don't owe your story to everyone. You don't have to explain your decisions, your background, your goals to anyone who asks. There's strength in simply saying, I prefer to keep that private, or letting your work speak for itself. When you don't rush to fill the silence, you create space, and in that space, people begin to understand that your words have weight, not because you say a lot, but because you choose when to speak. In relationships, both personal and professional, mystery has a unique ability to deepen trust over time. Instead of flooding someone with everything you are, allow them to discover it layer by layer. Let them learn who you are by how you behave under pressure, how you treat people who can't do anything for you, how you act when no one's watching. These moments speak volumes, and they mean far more than any perfectly rehearsed introduction ever could. We live in an age of oversharing. Every opinion, every update, every achievement is broadcasted. And in that flood of information, real identity often gets lost. People become brands, personalities, projections. But mystery resists that. It says, you don't need to know everything about me to respect me. It invites curiosity instead of handing out conclusions. It builds interest not through performance, but through presence. There's also a kind of elegance in mystery. It's the refusal to chase validation. It's not arrogance. It's assurance. It says, I don't need you to understand all of me right now. It shows self-respect. And when others see that you respect yourself enough to maintain some boundaries, they begin to mirror that same respect back to you. They approach you differently. They speak more carefully. They pay attention not because you demanded it, but because you earned it, without even trying. The most memorable people are often the ones who didn't tell us everything. They left something to be wondered about. They made us think. They allowed us to observe, reflect, and connect with them in real time. Their stories unfolded naturally, not because they were selling something, but because they were living something. Mystery builds that kind of connection. It leaves room for imagination, for admiration, for depth. You don't have to prove yourself in every room. You don't have to explain who you are or justify where you're going. Let them wonder, let them ask, let them feel something powerful in your silence. Because when you carry yourself with quiet confidence, when you move with intention and don't explain every step, people don't just see you, they respect you, and that kind of respect, it's not demanded. It's earned through mystery. People value how you make them feel, written in a professional, emotionally resonant tone, without subheadings or a conclusion. You can have the highest qualifications, the most impressive resume, the sharpest skills in the room. But if people don't feel seen, heard, or respected in your presence, they won't remember you for long. At the end of the day, people might forget your words, they might forget your title, they might forget the details of what you said or did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That emotional imprint stays long after the moment has passed. We live in a world that often places more value on what we achieve than how we connect. And yet, the people we hold in the highest regard, mentors, leaders, friends, even strangers, earn their place in our hearts not through awards or titles, but through moments, a moment of kindness when we least expected it, a moment of understanding when we felt vulnerable, a moment of encouragement that lifted us when we were on the edge of giving up. Those are the experiences that shape perception, that build loyalty, and that define relationships. Not the flashy introduction or the long list of accomplishments. Think about it. You don't remember every professor you've had, but you remember the one who made learning exciting, who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. You don't remember every manager you've worked for, but you remember the one who stood by you when you made a mistake, who gave you space to grow. Why? Because they made you feel something real, safe, empowered, valued. That feeling became a story you carry, and it shapes how you view those people even years later. The power of emotional experience often outweighs technical excellence. You can be the smartest person in the room, but if you speak in a way that belittles others or makes them feel invisible, your intelligence becomes irrelevant. On the other hand, someone who might not have all the answers but listens with presence and responds with humility can earn more trust in a single conversation than someone who dominates the room with knowledge but lacks empathy. People gravitate toward those who make them feel understood. They follow those who lead with heart. They trust those who are consistent in how they treat others, especially when there's nothing to gain. The truth is, we're all wired to seek connection. Beneath every conversation, every negotiation, every exchange, there's one question running in the background: do I matter to you? And how you answer that question, through tone, body language, and the energy you bring, and make or break the outcome of that interaction. A warm greeting, genuine eye contact, a sincere compliment, these are not small things. These are the things that linger. They change atmospheres, shift relationships, and build reputations that no title can manufacture. We often underestimate the impact of presence. Just being fully with someone, giving them undivided attention, can create a sense of importance that transforms how they see themselves and you. And the best part is, you don't need to be a leader, a speaker, or a high-level professional to do it. It's not about having power, it's about being intentional. It's about choosing to show up in a way that brings dignity to others, even in the smallest moments. There's a reason people cherish those who remember their names, who check in without being asked, who listen without interrupting. It's because those gestures send a clear message: you matter. That message is more powerful than the perfect pitch or polished delivery. It's more influential than being the best dressed person in the room. Because what we feel in someone's presence will always shape what we believe about them. Even in conflict or difficult conversations, how you make someone feel can change everything. If someone feels respected, even in disagreement, they'll walk away with their dignity intact. And that experience creates trust. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everyone or avoid being direct. It means choosing to communicate in a way that doesn't compromise someone's humanity. Respect doesn't cost a thing, but it pays back in ways that data never could. So whether you're leading a team, building a business, mentoring a student, or simply having a daily interaction, remember that the true legacy you leave behind isn't in the results, it's in the experience. How you made someone feel in your presence becomes a reflection of who you are in their memory, and if they felt valued, safe, seen, or inspired because of you, then you've already succeeded in the most meaningful way. Your worth isn't in a label, written in a compelling, professional, and emotionally resonant tone without using subheadings or a conclusion. From the moment we're old enough to be asked, we're told to define ourselves by what we do. What's your job? What's your major? What do you want to be? These questions follow us like shadows, and slowly, we begin to believe that our worth is tied to a title, a role, a position we can recite when asked. Somewhere along the way, we start introducing ourselves not by who we are, but by the labels we've earned, or worse, the ones we think we need to earn in order to be respected. But your worth, it doesn't live in a label. It doesn't sit behind a nameplate on a desk or a string of letters after your name. It's not printed on a resume or measured by the prestige of the company you work for. Your worth is deeper, quieter, and far more powerful than anything that can be summarized in a job title. Because at the core, who you are is not defined by what you do, but by how you live, how you lead, how you show up when no one's watching. Labels can be useful. They help organize things, help people understand roles. But they are also limited. A label can't capture your resilience. It can't describe your integrity, your work ethic, or your character. A label doesn't reflect your journey, what you've overcome, how many times you've started over, or the silent battles you've fought that no one else knows about. Those moments, those experiences, those choices, they speak to your worth far more than any surface description ever could. When you rely too heavily on labels, you give other people the power to define your value. You let your job title determine your self-esteem. You let someone else's approval decide how successful you are, and that's a dangerous place to live, because the truth is, labels can change, titles can be taken away. Jobs can end, careers can shift, but your value, that's internal, it moves with you. It lives in how you treat others, how you rise after falling, how you keep your word even when no one would blame you for breaking it. There's something deeply freeing in realizing that your worth is not on display, it's embedded in your actions. It's not about what people call you, it's about how people feel after they've interacted with you. Were they better, braver, stronger, more seen, more heard because of you? That's what matters. People may not remember your exact role or title, but they will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember the space you held for them, the encouragement you offered, the integrity you displayed when it mattered most. It's easy to chase labels. They're visible, they're praised, they're easy to post and measure. But real value isn't loud, it's consistent. It's the way you show up day after day, not just for others, but for yourself. It's the standard you hold yourself to when no one's watching. It's the courage to walk into a room without needing to prove anything, because you know that your worth isn't something you explain. It's something you live. We often meet people who have incredible titles but little character. We also meet people with no labels at all who carry wisdom, grace, and strength that move us deeply. That alone should be proof enough. Value isn't worn, it's revealed. Some of the most powerful people you'll ever encounter won't look powerful at all. But they leave you changed simply because of who they are. The beautiful truth is that you don't need to wait for a promotion, a certification, or a certain salary to feel worthy. You are not on trial. You don't have to constantly prove yourself to the world in exchange for permission to feel enough. The moment you stop chasing the label and start living the values that matter to you, authenticity, excellence, kindness, courage, you take back your power. You stop performing for validation and start owning your truth, and people will feel that. They may not understand it, but they will respect it, because real worth doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. It doesn't need a label, it transcends it. And once you understand that, no title can limit you, no role can define you, and no one else gets to decide how valuable you are. That's your job, and yours alone. Curiosity creates connection, written in a professional, engaging, and emotionally resonant tone without subheadings or a conclusion. In every conversation, every relationship, and every room we walk into, we have a choice to assume we know or to be curious. Curiosity is often underestimated. It's seen as a soft skill, a passive trait, or something reserved for learning environments. But in truth, curiosity is a quiet superpower. It has the ability to open doors, dissolve tension, and bridge even the widest emotional or cultural gaps. When you approach people with genuine curiosity, you make them feel seen, and that feeling is what creates real, lasting connection. People aren't drawn to those who always have the answers, they're drawn to those who ask the right questions. And not the kind of questions meant to check a box or fill the silence, but the kind that carry real intent. Curiosity signals, you matter to me, I want to understand you, I'm not here to judge, I'm here to learn. In a world where everyone's trying to be heard, to be validated, to be acknowledged, curiosity is rare. And because it's rare, it's powerful. It's easy to fall into autopilot in our interactions. We nod politely, we wait for our turn to speak, we offer advice without truly listening. But when we step back from needing to impress or respond and lean into sincere interest, everything shifts. People relax, walls come down, they stop performing and start revealing, because something inside them recognizes that they are not being evaluated, they are being explored. And that changes the energy of the room entirely. Curiosity breaks patterns, it invites honesty, it creates space for vulnerability. When someone feels that you are truly curious about their story, their perspective, their experience, they feel safe. And safety is the foundation of all meaningful connection, whether in leadership, friendship, partnerships, or passing conversations. When someone feels safe, they begin to share not just what they do, but who they are. That's when depth begins, that's when trust is built. There is a kind of magic in asking, what made you choose that path? Or how did that feel for you? Or even just, tell me more. Simple questions, asked with real presence, can unlock doors that no title, no status, no charm can open. Curiosity isn't about being nosy, it's about being open. It's not about prying, it's about caring. It says, you're not just another person I'm passing by, you're someone I want to understand. In professional settings, curiosity also elevates communication. Leaders who ask more than they tell often build stronger, more loyal teams. Colleagues who seek to understand each other's work and challenges develop deeper collaboration. Clients who feel truly listened to become lifelong advocates. Why? Because curiosity creates emotional investment. It makes people feel like more than a role. They feel like a person, and that feeling sticks. It also softens conflict. When we lead with assumptions, conversations harden. But when we lead with curiosity, we open a door to dialogue instead of debate. We create space for nuance, for learning, for grace. Help me understand why this matters to you is a far more connective sentence than let me tell you why you're wrong. Curiosity disarms. It invites empathy. It transforms the interaction from a standoff into a bridge. Even in our personal lives, curiosity can reignite fading connections. In long-term relationships, we often think we know someone so well that we stop asking. But people change, they grow, they shift, they carry new dreams and disappointments every year. Asking questions, even familiar ones, is a way of saying, I still want to know you. I still care about what's happening inside you. That curiosity keeps love alive. It reminds people that they are worth rediscovering again and again. Being curious also means being humble. It's admitting that you don't know everything, and you don't have to. It's letting go of the need to impress and replacing it with a desire to connect. And the beautiful thing about curiosity is that it naturally invites people to open up without pressure. You don't have to force connection, you just have to be genuinely interested. The rest will follow. In a fast, moving world full of noise, where surface-level interactions dominate and attention spans are short, curiosity is a quiet rebellion. It's the decision to slow down, to dig deeper, to listen longer. And through that choice, we give others something rare and unforgettable, the feeling of being fully seen. That feeling is what forges bonds, inspires trust, and turns ordinary conversations into meaningful moments. When we lead with curiosity, we don't just make connections, we create them. Prove it before you preach it. Written in a professional, emotionally grounded tone without subheadings or a conclusion. In a world where it's easier than ever to talk, to post, to advise, to broadcast opinions, there's one thing that still holds more weight than all the words in the room: consistency. It's easy to tell people what they should do, how they should live, or what values they should hold. It's much harder to live those values quietly, consistently, when no one's applauding, when there's no spotlight. That's why people don't respect the loudest voice in the room. They respect the one whose actions align with their words, the ones who live it before they ever try to teach it, because anyone can preach it, but only a few can prove it. People are paying more attention to how you behave than what you say. You can speak beautifully about discipline, integrity, patience, or courage, but if your actions contradict your message, your words become noise. Advice without credibility feels empty, and credibility isn't built by talking. It's built by showing, again and again, especially when it's hard. especially when no one's watching, especially when it costs you something. There's something powerful about watching someone walk their talk. You feel it. You trust them without needing to be told why. There's no need for persuasion or performance because the evidence is in front of you. They don't need to say, "Let me tell you how to lead." They lead, and you learn by example. They don't need to say, "I value people." You can see it in how they treat the janitor and the CEO with the same level of respect. They don't need to remind you of how strong they are. Their endurance in tough times shows you all you need to know. We live in a time where personal branding and public performance are often mistaken for substance. But the truth is, people are tired of hearing speeches from those who haven't lived the struggle. Real leadership is built in silence. It's built in moments of showing up without fanfare. It's built in how you handle disappointment, how you treat others when they fail, and how you carry yourself when no one's clapping. When someone proves it through their actions, they earn the right to speak about it. And when they do speak, their words carry weight, not because they're louder, but because they're backed by reality. If you want to inspire others, if you want to teach, lead, coach, or influence, start by proving it. Live the thing you're trying to promote. Be the example, not just the expert. People don't need more instruction. They need more demonstration. They need to see what discipline looks like in daily life, what humility feels like in conflict, what grace looks like under pressure. Show it before you share it, and let the example speak before you do. This applies in every area of life. Whether you're a parent, a leader, a mentor, a friend, children listen, but they absorb what they see. Teams listen, but they trust what you model. Friends listen, but they're shaped by how you show up. Your influence is not built in the moments you're speaking. It's built in the moments you think no one is watching. That's where real respect is formed. It takes humility to live this way. It takes discipline, and it takes time, because proving it means you're committing to a life that's not just about performance. It's about alignment. It's about holding yourself to the same standards you ask of others. It's about choosing consistency over convenience, and the reward, it's the kind of influence that doesn't fade, the kind of leadership that doesn't need to shout, the kind of character that builds trust without ever having to demand it. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be respected, but not everyone is willing to earn that respect. The shortcut is to talk louder. The real path is to live better. People will listen when they feel you've lived it. They will follow when they sense you've walked it, and they will remember you not for what you preached, but for what you proved. That's the kind of legacy worth building. That's the kind of voice worth having. Not because you said the right things, but because you were willing to be the real thing first.